So what is China's national ambition? What do China's leaders envision for the future, for instance? Well, the current generation came to power, as you recall, in November of 2012. And the pageantry that surrounded that moment was revealing in some important ways. I was living in Beijing at the time, and I got an invitation to attend the unveiling of the new Standing Committee of the Politburo. That's, of course, the top ranks of the Communist Party, and you'll see the 7 men who will be running the country in the years ahead here. That's the President Xi Jinping in the middle, and the Premier Li Keqiang to his left, and the other members of the Standing Committee. And the event was held, as it always is, in the Great Hall of the People, that vast building beside Tiananmen Square that was built, as they say, by the hands of volunteers in the 1950s. And when the new leaders walked out on stage, what you noticed above all was conformity. There was a very clear sense about them. They wore virtually identical dark suits. They had virtually identical red ties, with the exception of one who wore blue, and I can talk about him later if anybody's interested. But to those who were watching at home, the message was very clear. The message was that the party wanted its people to feel that there was no more idiosyncrasy or division within the leadership. We'd come off of this period of enormous turbulence in Chinese politics, the downfall of a party leader, Bo Xilai, and what they wanted people at home to know was, we have come together, we are one unit, indivisible. President Xi Jinping steps forward to face the cameras to give his first speech to the nation, and what he said was notable. He dedicated himself, above all, to what he called the great renewal of the Chinese nation. That, he said, and he would repeat this again and again over the weeks to come, that is the Chinese dream. And overnight, that concept, the Chinese dream, it became the central animating slogan of the new government. You saw it on bus shelters, it was on television advertisements, it was on the front page of the People's Daily 24 times in the first week. So what did the Chinese dream refer to? Well, to Chinese listeners, it carries both domestic and international implications. On the domestic side, of course, it's about continuing China's physical transformation. This is, after all, a place that has built more airports and high-speed rail than the rest of the world combined over the last generation. China has landed a spacecraft on the moon, and it's talking about a mission to Mars and another one to the deepest reaches of the ocean. China now loans more money to the developing world than does the World Bank, and that is about to grow, I can tell you, because China is beginning to build multilateral institutions like the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, which are going to provide a new facility for China's role in other developing countries. But the Chinese dream was also about something deeper. It's about a call to unite, to set aside the internal divisions, the tensions in China that have been so present in the last 4 years, and to reinvigorate the support for the Communist Party. All of that in service of this broader objective, which is to return the country to its status as a leading power in the world, to restore China to the position that it enjoyed not that long ago, after all, in the grand scheme of things. This is a civilization, as any Chinese schoolchild can tell you, that was so advanced that it was printing books 400 years before Gutenberg. It controlled 1/3 of the world's wealth as recently as the 18th century. But this greater, more vigorous role for China in the world is also putting pressure on its relationships with some other countries. For years, Chinese leaders believed that the best way for the country to conduct itself in its foreign affairs was, in the words of Deng Xiaoping, to hide its strength and bide its time, 韬光养晦, as it was known. In other words, to avoid inflaming the world's only superpower while you continue to build your economy at home and gradually return to the family of nations. But in recent years, China has become less comfortable hiding its strength and biding its time. And you see it now staking out a more expansive position in its dealings with other countries. It has pursued its territorial claims, for instance, in the East China Sea and the South China Sea. And this has put it into confrontation with Japan, the Philippines, and other neighbors. This is a reef in the South China Sea that is now being built into a usable space with Chinese facilities, a contested piece of territory.